Good morning, everybody. Monday, March 19th, 9 a.m. Eastern. And we have a big gap down open today, mostly led by tech sector weakness. As we know, as I've kept saying, if this market's going to see any kind of pullback, we have to see tech sector weakness. And we have bearish news over the weekend with the potential EU tax, 3%. So definitely seeing a hit on these names. And we're going to be watching hourly RSI levels on a lot of them. And they vary. As I was doing the whiteboard, you know, some of these tech names, the RSI is at 30, some of them it's down at 20, some of them it's 25, some of them has started to bounce and are rejecting from hourly exponential resistance, some of them have not yet. So all of these individual names, look at the hourly chart and watch the bounce attempt and watch exponential moving average resistances. So just to look at SPY on the hourly time frame is back testing and currently rejecting from exponential resistance. So there is the possibility of hourly bear flags here. So let's just run down a few of them. Amazon testing the exponential. You can see, just going back here. So Amazon's RSI was down pre-market, down at 22. And here we are now at 32, and we have cooled off the RSI because we are testing these exponential resistances. So these bear flags have the potential to cool off the RSI to create room for another leg down. Then you look at Facebook, and Facebook's in a completely different position where Facebook does not have much of a bounce attempt. So Facebook's RSI right now is down at 22. It hit a low of pre-market down in the teens. And here we are already testing the low of pre-market. So I can just see right now, comparatively, Facebook is much weaker than Amazon in this setup. So let's look at Apple. Apple's hourly RSI is nowhere near oversold. We saw a big time bounce from the low, and the RSI is in the 40s. So again, we're breaking correlation here significantly. And these individual names are in completely different setups. Netflix looks a lot like Amazon. It is currently rejecting from exponential resistance as well. We're watching the 4-hour equilibrium pattern, which I'll point out, or not the equilibrium, the 4-hour potential bearish reversal head and shoulders, which I will point out on Netflix here before we head into the open. But the bottom line is, look at each individual name on the hourly time frame and look at them as individuals. We know we're going to see correlation to SPY once the bell does ring. But as of right now, that correlation is all over the place. So checking in on SPY on the daily time frame and where we stand on SPY with pre-market low being a key support level. But we're looking at 273 right now where we're set to open. And the last little consolidation higher low that we've seen on the daily time frame is down at 269.12. So where we stand right now, pre-market, we are still $4 above the last consolidation low on the daily. So if we're going to want to see any kind of trend change here on the SPY daily time frame, we're going to likely have to see a lower high and a lower low, or we're going to have to see significant weakness pretty much all week to see this continued pullback. The SPY hourly RSI at this point is not too bad. It's at 38. So again, this little bounce has cooled off hourly RSI levels to allow for the potential of continuation, and we're going to see a gap down open to start things. So looking at the dollar on the daily time frame, we had a bull break. We didn't see much follow through at all. So the daily chart had this bull break at 90.36 and we got up to 90.38. So essentially only broke it by 2 pennies, and we're still watching a tight range on the dollar. So a couple higher lows to be watching, a little double top, and currently forming a daily inside bar. Gold had a more bearish break. So even though the dollar didn't break too significantly bullish, gold did break clearly bearish, losing its daily higher low. And looking at the low of the last few months on gold, that's down at 1302.68. So just another lower high. Look at all these lower highs on the daily. We've got our top of the move, lower high, 2, 3, now 4 lower highs to be watching, keeping the bears in control on the daily time frame and keeping the bear miners in control as well. Oil on the daily time frame has a bull break occurring, losing or breaking the lower high pattern and trying to see follow through now. So we built a base of support at 60 psychological, and now breaking the lower high of 62.31 was bullish, and we're looking up at 62.51 and 63.25 as the next 2 resistances. So oil bulls trying to shift momentum back in their favor, and just checking in on the weekly time frame. Things still tight on the weekly inside bar, trying to break bullish this week. Natural gas on the daily had that bear break to a lower or a loss of the higher lows. If we see a little bounce attempt here, we will look for a lower high to form on the daily chart, and for the bears to keep control as we look for this weekly chart to follow through with the bearish reversal candlestick from last week and continue to tighten this weekly equilibrium pattern. Checking in on cryptocurrency, we had some bullish news yesterday, which led to a little bit of a short squeeze, but we have to keep in mind we are still forming lower highs on the daily. So the lower high to break is 8,600. The top of this bounce is 8,444. If we do not break the lower high pattern, the bears remain in full control. The low of this consolidation is the key support this morning, and I'm looking down at 8,108. If that level breaks, we're going to have to pull back on the 4-hour time frame, which hasn't seen a whole lot of consolidation. It's been trading sideways while it consolidates, but we could easily pull back to the upper 7,000 range and have to form a 4-hour higher low and higher high to shift this momentum on the daily time frame in order to break the daily downtrend. So just want to keep perspective that the bears absolutely still control this trend right now, so we need to be cautious due to that fact. And we look at Ethereum, and the daily chart for Ethereum is on 8 red days in a row. And we're going to form an inside bar today on Ethereum. But again, it's just a lack of any real significant changes to the trend right now. And we have to see a 4-hour higher low and higher high to follow through with the daily chart trying to see a bounce. Litecoin on the daily time frame, anything under 172 is just a lower high. We pulled back $13 below that level. And it's the same thing on the 4-hour. We need a higher low and a higher high for clear confidence that we're seeing continuation, because right now the bull move from yesterday was all just an initial reaction to the news, and it was a reaction with shorts covering. In order to see a higher low and higher high, that's going to tell us that, okay, it wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction to the news. There's actually some sentimental shift going on, and the trend has the potential to change. But as of right now, that's not the case. So plays we're going to be watching today, obviously all of those tech names are going to have high volatility and potential bounces depending on how oversold they are. Facebook will be my top watch for a bounce because it is the most beat up tech name that I have come across here pre-market, and it's testing that low pre-market as well. So continue to show that weakness on Facebook. Also going to be watching, man, I didn't write it down and I had the play and now I'm going blank. I'm still in some Canadian MJ positions I'm going to be keeping a close eye on and still profitable, and I will likely have break-even stop losses on those levels just because we have this market weakness and certainly don't want to be subject to any correlations. We are seeing higher opens on Canadian MJ, as we did see that weekend of the day wild action on Friday due to the quad witching, but we are seeing that erased a little bit in the sense that a higher open compared to where those levels were at the end of the day is definitely currently setting up. Going to be watching the XBI. We're still watching the double top at XBI on the weekly time frame, and we're pulling back on XBI. Not too bad of a lower open right now, or a small gap down open, but the weekly time frame has a double top on XBI, and if we were to see continued market weakness, that would obviously be a very clear stop level to be looking at on this pullback. So I'll keep racking my brain and I'll pull up that play that I had in mind. Oh, I wanted to show the Netflix. That's what it was. I wanted to show the Netflix 4-hour head and shoulders. So obviously it doesn't have to fit within my poorly drawn right shoulder here, but we're right down at the neckline. And you can see if we lose this level, it's the 4-hour time frame going from higher lows and higher highs to a lower high and then a lower low. If we break that 313.28 level, the target will be 300 psychological, and that is the target that Citron had when they put out their alert. So that's something to be watching for as well. So let's get into some 5-minute and hourly setups, and we'll start it off. Let's see what Facebook looks like. Clear downtrend of lower highs on the 5-minute time frame. Last lower high was 180.30. And looking at the hourly time frame, just to get those RSI levels being crushed, RSI is down at 21. And we have a new resistance, the high of this bounce attempt, 179.43. So we have to be cautious on these other tech names. Maybe Facebook's giving a little bit of a glimpse into the future of a potential bear flag, rejecting from hourly exponential resistance, and seeing continuation down. So the next Facebook daily support that we're going to have to keep an eye on, as we're now right below 177, I'm looking down at 175.89, and the daily must-hold level is 172.99. So Apple with a much more significant bounce. Apple and Facebook are pretty much the opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of strong and weak with what we're seeing on the major names that we cover in the tech sector. We are losing some momentum on Apple and potentially starting the morning with all 5-minute moving averages as resistance. The hourly time frame, significant bounce, and we went almost $2 from the low. So the bulls are going to have to form an hourly higher low and then a higher high to change the hourly momentum back in their favor. And as of right now, that is the most significant bounce from pre-market that we're seeing here on Apple. As far as Apple goes, the daily middle Bollinger Band, update that level at the open, we're going to be opening right at that level to start today. There's also a gap on the daily at 177.12, which is going to fill. And the last little higher low of Apple on the daily, 174.27. Anything above that level keeps daily higher lows intact. Checking X. X is still trying to hold the hourly 20-period moving average on this bounce attempt. Bullish reversal doji Thursday was confirmed Friday. We've got daily exponential resistances to deal with today. 40.54 is resistance, the high, and we are definitely seeing a lower open compared to that level. So if we break the low of pre-market down at 39.33, we are looking back to the low of Friday. It would actually be 39 psychological and then 38.40. So it's all about this 20-period hourly. Have to hold this level, otherwise the bears are going to take back over, and that would be a potential bear flag on the daily time frame. AAOI. The week with hourly 20-period moving average as resistance. The daily chart must hold 26.11. If we break 26.11, we just continue to lower highs and lower lows. So there's a couple supports here, 26.28 and 26.11, 4 red days in a row, and still weakness. If the 20-period 5-minute moving average can't be regained as support, the bears are going to continue to hold complete control. And you can see it's just all bear volume the last couple days on this hourly time frame. So Elfin had a bull break on the daily time frame, and it's above the upper Bollinger Band. So at this point, we either need things to get really overextended, which they are not right now on the hourly time frame, or we need to wait for a loss of the daily upper Bollinger Band because we had a bull break, then we saw a little bull flag in continuation. So 51.10 is key resistance. After that level is 58.35. So again, there's a lack of resistance. The bulls can really easily move the price with a little bit of volume. So right now, this is a really bullish daily chart. So there's no doubt about that. And knowing the fundamentals is one thing, absolutely, to be looking for a short, but those fundamentals are not going to matter today or tomorrow. So have to keep in mind that the bulls are in full control right now. Hourly support that I'm looking at is 47.66, and that's the low of a little hourly bull flag that saw continuation. If we lose that level and lose the hourly 20 period, those are going to be the first signs of consolidation. So update the daily upper Bollinger Band at the open, and the bears want to see a close below that level as well. We need to see a little bit of weakness so we can have a top fishing stop level to be playing off of. XBI, so pointed out that double top, but in terms of where support is on the daily chart right now, we're going to test the daily middle Bollinger Band today in the low 93s, 93.17. It's going to update a little bit. Hourly time frame. So we're seeing continued weakness, and look at the hourly 20-period resistance. It's rejected the price now 4 days in a row. We have all hourly moving averages as resistance, and we're oversold down at 27 RSI. Next support level is going to be down at the 50-day moving average support, and this 50-day has held pretty much 1, 2, 3, 4, the last 6 tests, and that's going to be at about 91, the upper 9160s. So we have a little bit of a space until we head to that support level. But that 50-day moving average being lost would definitely be a red flag for the trend over the last few months. CRON. I guess we'll look at the Canadian version. So we are looking for CRON to see a bounce. And there was repositioning of an ETF that was the largest holding of CRON, and now it has significantly shifted to decrease those holdings a bit. So that's where we saw a lot of this downward action, in my opinion. We're still looking for a higher low on the daily time frame, and right now support is down at 1022. Resistance, the first level, 1041, and then up at 1065 to break the hourly lower highs, and then the hourly 20 period will be a key level. You can see we haven't even tested that resistance. It's been hourly exponential resistance for the last 4 days, as we have had that selling pressure from the rebalancing of that ETF in part, in my opinion. So it's definitely worth watching CRON for a bounce, absolutely. We'll be looking for a potential bottom fishing setup. And we did have news come out this morning, which is seeing a little bit of bullish action on CRON as well. So let's see if we get an entry opportunity first thing this morning. We could utilize that stop at the low of this pullback to this point of 1022. Tesla, clear bear break on the daily time frame. And when I keep saying on these daily charts, you know, we're still not breaking higher lows, and I'm saying that for SPY and all these tech names. And Tesla is one of the names that has broken the higher lows. We had a clear equilibrium bear break Thursday, follow through Friday, and now continued follow through today. So a gap down open and a lack of support nearby. 312.51 is the next level, and the hourly 20-period resistance has been rejecting the price for 5 days. That's a resistance level. Same thing, the hourly RSI this morning was oversold. We are seeing a weak bounce attempt, a potential bear flag as we cool off the RSI and reject from the hourly exponential resistances first thing this morning. So definitely keeping a close eye on this bounce attempt and potential bear flag. There's going to be multiple ways to play today. You can either be looking bullish and have a bottom fishing play with the low of pre-market, or you can be looking bearish, and once we see any kind of weakness, you just look at the top of the hourly bounce that the bulls got to. That's your stop loss of going bearish and hoping for bear flag and continuation to the downside. ULTA. ULTA is extremely strong on the hourly time frame. Support 219. We are in breakout mode on the daily, so update the upper Bollinger Band at the open. 223.50 is resistance, and if we can break the high of Friday, looking up at 224.39 is the next level. Bulls are certainly in control and maintaining this trend in their favor, and we would have to see a loss of the low of consolidation, which I'm looking at the low of pre-market, 219, as the red flag level. If that level is lost, we're going to see consolidation and likely backtest the daily upper Bollinger Band as support. So WEED, we are going to see a potential higher open from where we closed. Resistance is 33.06. If the bulls can break that level, we'll look for continuation. And there is going to be a potential. We have to watch out for the correlation to the overall S&P 500. But oftentimes that correlation doesn't pick up until the open. So if SPY were to bounce from this gap down open, that would benefit the Canadian MJ bulls, in my opinion. So we had bull breaks on daily timeframes in Canadian MJ that we lost a little bit of momentum at the end of the day with the settling of quadruple witching. But as of right now, let's see where we're standing pre-market. So a higher open is set up. And that would definitely favor the bulls if they can pull that off. And then we're just looking at the high of, we'll have the range of the low of the dump at the end of the day Friday as support, and the high of Friday will be key resistance the bulls will be trying to break. MU, and again, I still have positions that I'm going to be managing comfortably profitable in Canadian MJ, but also wanting to protect some of that profit. So MU, I'm looking at support is the low of Friday of 59.21, and resistance is the high of Friday of 60.69. And we're seeing a strong open, the potential for the bulls to test the high of Friday first thing. If we break 60.69, it's just psychological resistances until the all-time high. So that's the ideal scenario for the bulls, but we have to be watching for the potential of that top fishing play, where if we cannot break 60.69 and we start to pull back, that's a potential incentive for further profit taking if we can't break that high of Friday. And that would be a stop level to look at if looking bearish. But as of right now, we are seeing strength pre-market and some healthy pre-market consolidation, all about the high of Friday first thing and whether or not the bulls are able to break that resistance level. IN. Can't do IN on Fidelity. IN on the daily chart, key support is 130. And resistance, it's an attempt at a bullish reversal hammer on Friday. So the bulls have to break 145 to try and confirm it. Have to break that high of Friday. And there will be the potential, let's see, 145, and then the next level would be up at 157. So it is healthy daily consolidation still at this point. We did break Friday down below a level the bulls would have liked to have held, the low of consolidation up to that point. But if we can turn things around now and see some strength with Canadian MJ as the entire sector sees some strength from Friday, have to break 145 for the bulls to attempt to shift this momentum, which has been favoring the bears the last 4 days. RTI.V, low of afternoon consolidation is down at 160. After 160, there's not a whole lot of support until the low of the day, down at 152. Resistance after 168. Next level is 172. We are in breakout mode on the daily. High bull volume increasing. The bulls would love to see that volume keep up. And when we do begin to consolidate, as we are getting a little overextended, we will look for a daily higher low to form because we have broken so many resistances the last few days. So hourly consolidation, you can see 160 is important to hold this very strong move to the upside. But the hourly RSI is 84, and we are certainly not in blue sky breakout. So that hourly RSI is relevant. And I would not be surprised to see the need to see some healthy consolidation early this week on RTI. EMH. So EMH, same thing. The low of consolidation Friday afternoon is a level to watch. 576 is that support level. And resistance after the high of Friday, if we can break first thing, after 585, looking at $6 psychological and then 606. So support 576 and 573, and then those resistance levels I just said, as the bulls are trying to see momentum shift, and we are seeing some decent bull volume in Canadian MJ Thursday and Friday. Question is, can they recover from that wild end of the day Friday and have a bullish day today? That will go a long way in giving the bulls confidence. N also breaking bullish on the daily time frame. Next resistance from here after 240, we're looking up at 260, and then there's a gap at 275. And can't get the shorter term here on Fidelity, but the upper Bollinger Band, update that level at the open, as that upper Bollinger Band needs to hold as support in breakout mode. If we lose that upper Bollinger Band, we'll look for some healthy consolidation, but strong close on Friday and looking for continuation today with a break of 240 first thing. Again, that will go a long way in giving the bulls confidence in that continuation. NTES. Inside bar on the daily time frame Friday, 323.12 support, 328.39 resistance, and then we have to watch the daily upper Bollinger Band if we break resistance, as that is going to be in play today. And we're all over the place here pre-market, or I should say after hours. We don't even have any pre-market, so it's all about the daily inside bar. The bulls have favored the last couple weeks on this bounce and breaking and changing the trend from lower highs to a higher low and a higher high. But the short term today is going to be dictated by how this daily inside bar breaks, most likely. Need to set up something real quick so I'm ready for the open. NAC.V. So NAC.V, not a whole lot of price action. Daily inside bar on Friday. The low is support. That's down at 98 cents. The high is resistance, 104. So 98 and then 94, 104, and then 109 is the range that I'm watching. And the bulls are trying for a cup and handle pattern on the daily time frame, but they have to break this daily inside bar bullish for that potential pattern to still be in play. SPXL, again, the bounce is going to be watching the hourly exponential resistance. It's still a potential bear flag at this point. Have to get over hourly exponential resistances or see an hourly higher low and higher high to shift momentum in favor of the bulls on this hourly time frame. So certainly a lot of work for the market, and really it's going to be the tech sector, in my opinion, that's going to dictate how things go today and the amount of recovery that the tech sector can see. So it's worth keeping an eye on SPXL, but we have to see SPY keep 5-minute strength. If SPY were to break this consolidation little low here of 272.92, that's going to have a bit of bearish momentum right at the open. So it is worth keeping an eye on. But again, these hourly RSI levels are cooling off with this potential bear flag bounce attempt pre-market. BABA daily inside bar, the low of support was down at 197.26, so we're going to test that low today. Bulls need to hold 197.26, or we're looking at 196.52, and then a gap fill back to the downside. So it's all about the low of Friday. Bulls would have to see a move up to 238, certainly not likely anytime soon to break the inside bar bullish. And checking the hourly time frame, we do still have a tight range to be watching here, as we are still within that inside bar. So definitely worth watching that inside bar support on BABA first thing this morning. Let's see how Twitter's being hit. So Twitter was multiple inside bars Thursday and Friday. 35.52 support which we are going to break first thing with a small gap down open. Again, here's our hourly bounce, cooling off the RSI from oversold and potentially rejecting from exponential resistance for the potential of continuation down. So we have to be cautious. We can absolutely go in either direction here. When I first came on an hour ago and started doing the whiteboard an hour and a half ago, we were saying, okay, we're going to be looking for bull moves because we're extremely oversold on hourly timeframes, and we're going to be looking for buy the gap down. But now that scenario has changed over the last hour and a half because this bounce has cooled off RSI levels. We absolutely could see bear flags and continuation down. It's really a 50-50 in the direction that we're going to be looking today. So we have to be looking at the overall market in the 5-minute time frame as well as XLK. Again, the tech sector and XLK is going to be a big guide for me today in terms of which direction we're going to be looking in. RHT.V. Multiple daily inside bars here as well. Resistance is 230 and 232, and the bulls need to hold support of 222. If we break 232, the next resistance is 240. So the daily chart getting really tight and a slight edge to favor the bulls. A break of 232 would go a long way to starting the week with confidence and trying for a daily bull MACD cross to look for continuation as well. ECYT. ECYT on the daily time frame is extended, but holding support 931 and 928 are our supports 2 out of the last 3 days. It's definitely becoming a equilibrium pattern where we have our high, low of consolidation is 931, our lower high, and then we did break bearish by a couple pennies, so that slightly favors the bears in this equilibrium pattern, but we need to see a break of 928 to look for further consolidation on the daily time frame. And another point is it's very low bear volume the past couple days. The bears are not really proving anything in regards to volume, so need to break 928 and ideally see more than 3.3 million shares traded today for the bears to get any kind of traction. WTW, not much going on pre-market. Must hold support on the daily is 63.53 and resistance is 68.63. So the potential of a daily inside bar today is fairly high with how we are opening relative to the decent ranged candlestick on Friday. The bulls did get some nice follow through on Friday. Hourly 20-period moving average is still support. We'll be watching that level as well. So still healthy consolidation from the breakout. The hourly higher low has yet to been found confidently yet. 66.50. Currently the hourly higher low the bulls are trying to form. SQ trying to start the day with all 5-minute moving averages as support. Certainly very strong on the daily time frame overall. 53.90 is support. 55.05 is resistance. We're closer to resistance than we are to support. The hourly 20-period moving average also still, well, actually, I take that back. It's actually resistance. Testing that resistance right now. $54.07 and $53.90 are the two supports. And that resistance again is $55.05. So APH, we have to break the high of Friday for confidence in continuation on this attempted change of the daily trend. 1496 and then 15 psychological are two resistance levels. And seeing where we stand here pre-market as we're getting ready for the bell. Seeing a little bit of a lower open now, dropping down. But it's a test of the high of Friday, first thing, 1496, and then the daily upper Bollinger Band will be the next resistance to watch. C had a big upper wick of profit taking from Friday, 74.14 resistance. Support is 73.15. So 73.15 key support. The financial sector is holding up just fine. It's really the tech sector that's obviously taking the big hit this morning. And we have an equilibrium on the daily time frame very clearly for C, where the overall range I'm watching is 73.01 to 76.53. And that break will give some longer term implications. The SPY as we head into the open is still recovering. Key support on the 5-minute is 272.92, and we are up looking at the high of pre-market, 273.78 as resistance. So again, pretty indecisive with what we're going to be looking for. XLK is going to be the major factor on SPY this morning. Looking at a fairly slow start to things. So APH pulling back pretty significantly from its high of yesterday. Need WEED to break its high to give some confidence in the sector. And here's WEED coming up to 33. Need to see a break of 33.06. So here's XLK weakness down at the low of the day, and SPY at the low of the day as well. So it's all about 272.92 for SPY. And if SPY is going to get ugly today, it's going to require the financial sector to pull back significantly as well. Bull break on WEED, breaking the high of Friday is a great sign, completely shaking off that end of the day bearish action. So obviously I'm sitting tight on my position for now. And going to see if the daily chart can continue, and we're off to a great start this week. APH needs to follow and break over 15 ideally. You can see Cron's up nicely, 6% on its news. It was certainly very beat up. RKDA, 20-period 5-minute moving average support about to be tested, 46.34. After the gap up open, that's the key level for the bulls to maintain. The daily upper Bollinger Band support is 45.48. So daily upper Bollinger Band after the 20-period 5-minute, bulls need to hold that level to remain in control. So tech still not showing much for the bulls in terms of biggest losers. Obviously, Facebook is seeing the biggest hit, not even comparable. Facebook is down over 300% more just in terms of being down almost 5% today. That hourly RSI is getting crushed. Hourly RSI is 19. When we were at the low of the day, it was down in the 18-17 range. And we're now looking at an oversold bounce beginning, but the 20-period 5-minute moving average resistance will be key. So Facebook is clearly the weakest of the tech sector. Baba, percentage-wise, is number 2, and then Google and Amazon are right there at number 3. But Google and Amazon are down 1.6%, and Facebook's down 4.6%. So again, big difference there. Another high of the day test for APH. As Cron bounces continuing, very clearly seeing a shift in momentum on Cron. Lead bull this morning in the Canadian MJ sector. So Facebook had a double dose of bearish news, not just the potential EU tax, but tax as well. Tesla following through with the bear break on the daily time frame, now very clearly breaking 321 support. CMG is still very tight on the daily time frame as Bollinger Bands get tighter and tighter. Baba weakness continues, as does Google weakness, almost down 2% now. As the tech sector, again, not seeing any strength in the tech sector, and we're seeing that translate into SPY weakness. SPY has lost the 5-minute higher low from pre-market, and the next support on SPY from pre-market is 272.68. So for SPY to see any kind of bounce, we have to see the tech sector bounce. And for SPY to get real weak, we have to see the financial sector get weak. I don't have Netflix confirming the bearish reversal head and shoulders until we break 313.28. So it held it by 18 cents. Doesn't mean it's going to hold it all day, but just want to point out it is currently holding it. Netflix is holding up the best in the tech sector currently, percentage-wise. CMG into the green now. We certainly know CMG can do its own thing relative to SPY. CMG still struggles in the mid to upper 320s with consistent upper wicks from those levels. WEED trying to test the high of the day again. Bitcoin, looking at the 15-minute time frame, there's a little mini equilibrium pattern. The range that I would be watching is 8,226 to 8,363. On the 15-minute time frame, I see a high, low, lower high, higher low, and we're currently real tight on that range, so I would be watching the 15-minute time frame. And we should see a break from that within an hour. The Canadian MJ definitely standing out with a bit of strength with a weak market day. Cron now up over 8%. Highlighted Cron looking for that bounce in the weekend video. WED actually has more volume than Friday morning. By a lot. 10 minutes of Friday morning, the volume was under 250,000, and here we have over double that. So it's actually significant morning volume. Clear bull break for WEED and continuation on the new high of day. And the next resistance level we're looking at is 3364. And WEED hourly RSI is not 70 yet, so we're not overbought. And it depends on when your candle closes as to how many red candles you have recently. But it's really that end of the day consolidation cooled off the RSI to allow for some continuation here. But just want to highlight again, it is notable volume. And disregarding the quadruple witching Friday end of the day volume, Thursday's total volume on WEED was 5.1 million, and we're already well over 10% in the first 9 minutes of trading. Need to see APH. It is testing the high of the day. Need to see it break the high of Friday. ACB's at the high of the day, so Canadian MJ definitely standing out. Lead bull sector today. So SPY trying to bounce a little bit, still all 5-minute moving averages as resistance. And again, the tech sector not doing anything to turn things around. I would disregard TWMJF volume just like I disregard TWMJF levels. It's all dependent on what WEED is doing. Definitely a good Dow chart to be watching, and we are looking to stay in that equilibrium pattern for the time being, and we will look for a break probably next week, although who knows with FOMC Wednesday. We do have a double top on APH to be watching. Wall of resistance at 1485 the bulls can't get through. TNX 20-period 5-minute moving average needs to hold as support, being tested right now. If that level is lost, then we're looking at further consolidation. But it's the gap up open, but we're seeing that gap fill because we can't keep that 20-period 5-minute moving average as support. So we have a double bottom on the daily and still lower highs on the daily, so a tightening range, and we'll look for it to potentially break Wednesday. There goes APH, new high of, well, don't want to speak too early. Wow, a triple top. We just broke the high of the day on APH, and then more shares poured on to keep that price contained intentionally. Prawn up now 9%, clear lead bull. Checking in on gold. Gold is breaking the hourly trend. So we have an hourly higher low and higher high now. Next key resistance is 1314.43. So a nice little shift on the hourly time frame for the bulls to start the day with gold. We're watching the low of pre-market for SPY. NTNX bouncing, still a daily bull flag on NTNX after the gap down open. Complete recovery. This name still has a ton of strength, there's no doubt about it, and even when we do consolidate, it is not giving any real opportunity for the bears to see any gains. Bulls are buying dips consistently for 3 days in a row on NTNX. APH trying for the third time to break 1485. SPY still no bounce as XLK is at the low of the day. So someone is just consistently stacking shares on APH. It's definitely notable. SPY hourly RSI as we rejected from exponential resistances down to 34, so certainly potential for downside. We are not oversold. WEED testing the high of the day. Finally, APH getting through that wall of resistance. Testing the high of Friday now. BTC big time bull break. So that level, 83.63, and now we're heading to higher highs on this bounce. 8,600 key daily resistance to test the lower highs. Big bull break on ETH to go with it. So 15-minute equilibriums on the big three breaking bullish this morning. And Bitcoin leading the way. Actually, I take that back. Litecoin is leading the way, and it has been for the last 12 hours or so. Just in the strength that we're seeing with the hourly chart not losing the higher low pattern. So we have now broken the daily lower highs on Bitcoin, which means when we do consolidate, we will look for a higher low to form. That is notable on the daily time frame. A nice continuation after 4-hour consolidation. High of the day for WEED. Again, very solid volume this morning. Tron's going for a 10% morning. So tons of red on the screen. It is only Canadian MJ that's green on my screen. And Amazon and Netflix are holding up. Netflix held its support. It has not broken the neckline on the 4-hour time frame. Strongest tech names are Amazon and Netflix. And the weakest right now is Google and Facebook. WEED is testing its daily resistance. And after 33.64, we're looking at the highest price we've seen in almost 2 months. 34.55. Bull break. So 34 and 34.55, and this is the ideal start of the week for Canadian MJ. Couldn't have asked for anything better. So checking back in on crypto real quick, watching the 5-minute and 15-minute RSI levels. Bitcoin 5-minute RSI got into the 80s, so we are due for consolidation. The 15-minute is over 70. But our new higher low for the crypto space, the big three, is that 15-minute higher low. As long as the bulls hold that this morning, they will maintain the uptrend. IBM is trying to bounce. Resistance on IBM, I'm looking at 159.54 and then the high of the day. Lots of upper wicks of profit taking from upper Bollinger Band resistance all last week. But as long as the bulls hold 157.74, they have the daily higher lows intact. I forget the Kodak ticker. You got to give me the ticker, please. GWPH is weak down at the low of the day. And GWPH support, we're looking down at 116.08 on the daily. And we're pulling back after a bull move all of March, so we need to form a higher low on the daily time frame. Biotech sector's in the green. And the financial sector is pretty much break even. So again, it's all tech sector driving the bears today. GWPH hourly RSI is 32, so as we get oversold on the hourly, we can begin to look for the daily higher low to start to form. KODK, all 5-minute moving averages are resistance. Profit-taking day on Friday with an upper wick and breaking the low of Friday of 535. We're now looking to fill the gap down to 525, which we did. So gap has filled. Now we'll see if the bulls can turn things around, but they're going to have to start getting these 5-minute moving averages as support in order to do so. So gap has filled. Let's see if the bulls can do anything with it. The SPY's got a little bounce going on, and again, it's because the market, aside from the tech sector, is recovering, but it's still very weak on the SPY 5-minute time frame. A lot of work to do. WEED has 20% of Thursday's total volume in 22 minutes of trading. NVDA bulls have seen a nice recovery from weakness this morning as well. YY on fire on increasing bull volume. Of course, that stands out. Inside, actually, it wasn't an inside bar on the daily, but continuation for the bulls. Next resistance, 121. So shifted the hourly from lower highs and lower lows to a little higher low and a higher high on Friday, just barely, and now we're getting some follow through on that. And we have held the 100-day moving average support on YY 4 days in a row. My WEED position is a swing position at this point. So I'm not watching short-term RSI levels too much. Hourly RSI is 70. 5-minute is 71. But this is enough follow-through for me that I'm fine holding a swing position. And I still have my position on APH as well. So I took half of my profit on WEED Friday, and I am fine holding the other half after the week is starting like this. So now Netflix is down less than 1%, as is NVDA. Amazon's trying to get to that as well. SPY 5-minute is still struggling with the exponential moving average resistances. RCR is a bit of a potential bull flag on the weekly. Let me see. The potential bull flag on the weekly, the support that needs to hold ideally is 408. I'd say the must hold is 404. And resistance is 420 and 427. Break 427, and the bulls will begin to head on up to confirm the bull flag with continuation. APH resistance is 1532. ACB is not moving the same as Canadian MJ because it had a clear daily bear break on Friday. It lost its higher low. No other of the major Canadian MJ names have done that, and that was when 1110 broke. And that right there pretty much deflated the bulls on ACB over the last 2 days because of that break. So anything under 1122, we will have a daily inside bar today on ACB. I have locked in my profit now on APH because it is much weaker of a potential daily swing setup than WEED is. I'm just going to be focusing on WEED with my position. WEED, we definitely want to see 5-minute or hourly consolidation before making a swing entry, because the swing entry was Friday with the bull break. Break of 32 was that potential signal, and if not, the break of 32.51 certainly was, breaking the daily lower highs. Buy is still trying to get over 5-minute exponential resistances and still struggling a bit. Fundamental news that could affect TNX is the FOMC on Wednesday. So SPY bulls still have a lot of work to do in terms of proving themselves. This is just a little weak bounce at this point. Getting 20 period 5-minute moving average as support would be step number 1. Decent bounce for the tech sector. Looking at XLK, same thing. We need a 5-minute, little higher low and higher high. So here's some WEED significant consolidation. First significant consolidation we've seen today. We will look for a 5-minute higher low. Have to keep in mind that if SPY were to just see 5-minute lower highs and lower lows continue to new low of the day, that it would likely affect WEED a bit. BTC, healthy 5-minute consolidation, decreasing bear volume. We will be looking for a higher low to form and potentially a 5-minute little equilibrium pattern to be watching. The 4-hour chart still does not really have a clear consolidation higher low on Bitcoin, so we do have to be aware of that fact. But the hourly chart established a base of support in the 8,100 to 8,400 range last night. And now this leg up this morning is obviously a good sign for continuation. I still want to see a more clear break of 8,600. So big 3 of crypto, and you can tell Litecoin is stronger. Again, it's at the high of the move and hitting higher highs right now. Litecoin clearly stronger than Bitcoin and Ethereum on the 5-minute time frame on this move. Next resistance for Litecoin is 164.27, but it is pretty extended on the 5-minute time frame. And we have a new very short-term support the bulls want to hold, the low of this 5-minute consolidation so far. Certainly not a must-hold level, just an ideal level to hold. The SPY has rejected from 5-minute exponential resistance 20 minutes in a row, 4 candles in a row. CMG is the lead bull on my screen aside from Canadian MJ. The uptrend on SPY is not lost if 263.76 holds. It's just that simple. It'd be ideal if we hold a higher low, but in terms of a break of the daily and weekly uptrend from this bounce recovery, that's the must-hold level. OLED, big gap down, trying to bounce. 20-period 5-minute moving average will be resistance. Hourly RSI at 23. So a bounce attempt is underway, but it's a very weak bounce attempt at this point. We need 5-minute higher lows and higher highs at the bare minimum to try and turn things around. So WEED, significant pullback from the high of the day, but still looking at the 5-minute time frame, there's no major red flags at this point. We are still looking for that higher low, and then we'll see if we get a 5-minute equilibrium heading into the afternoon. So watching for the potential Bitcoin 5-minute equilibrium setup if we can't break to a higher high. SPY heading down to test the low of the day. Bulls will have to see a higher low and then break the high of that bounce attempt, 272.78, to try and shift this momentum. KR. So KR is real tight on the daily time frame. The bulls are trying to change the trend on this bounce with a higher low and a higher high. So must hold support is 23.41 and resistance is 24.39. So a new low of the day on SPY, keeping the momentum with the bears. We have a new clear resistance level to be watching now. Anything under 272.78 is just a lower high on the 5-min. I think I just said 5-min for the first time in 3 years. And Facebook's only getting uglier. Exponential resistance driving the price down. Hourly RSI on Facebook is 16. There will be a Facebook bounce. We just don't want to be catching a falling knife, but RSI on Facebook is not going to stay in the teens for longs. Indigo, that's because it is factoring in a previous loss that you had on the trade. So it's a wash trade, and it's factoring in that previous loss to make your cost basis higher. So it's essentially saying for you to get green on your trading of TWMJF, you have to get back to that point. I saw your question earlier. I assume it was your question and didn't click until you just asked it that way. TOPS. The TOPS, the must-hold support on the daily as the bulls are trying to form their higher low is 172. And resistance, we've got 194. And it's really the 50-day moving average is the key resistance to be watching. That's at 20. We've rejected from that the last 5 times in the last 2 months. So 172 must hold support and need to close over the 50-day moving average for the bulls to see some bullish follow-through. So SPY has now broken the low of pre-market, so the next support that we're going to be looking at from the daily time frame on SPY, 271.33. So we've been pulling back now. This is the 6th down day in a row on SPY. And we haven't even given back the 2 last bull days that we had, March 8th and March 9th. So again, it's always about perspective. 6 red days, not giving back 2 green days, which is why it seems like it's so far away for us to break key support levels. That's because the bulls, ever since the dump low early February, have been really strong on this bounce recovery. Nice continuation for Bitcoin, so a much more convincing bull break. The 5-minute bull flag confirmed. Litecoin leading the charge. Litecoin's very overbought. So this is a great sign for the bulls in the crypto space because this now shows that it wasn't just a knee-jerk reaction to news. This is a more prolonged reaction to news, and we are breaking daily resistance levels. So ETH has a long way to go to break anything on the daily chart. LTC still has a lot of work to do as well, but Bitcoin has broken the daily lower highs now. And the next Bitcoin resistance, looking at the 4-hour chart, is 8,794. Apple low 176.29, 176.26. You could consider that a double bottom at this point. XRP bull break on the hourly. It was a bull flag on the 4-hour time frame, getting follow through now and heading to higher highs. The next resistance, 71. 15-minute time frames are getting a bit, well, not really actually. 5-minute time frames are certainly getting extended. 15-minute time frames not so much. Although Bitcoin's 15-minute RSI did get up right about to 80 there at the top of that move. SPY is still all bears, so if you are looking bullish, have to be aware that you are completely fighting the trend right now. Approaching a low of the day test on the tech sector. WEED new must-hold level is 33.15. I will exit all of my position if that level breaks, because that will give us the potential of a bearish candlestick on the daily time frame with a big upper wick of profit taking. The low of consolidation for WEED is the key support at 33.15. So WEED pulling back way more than the bulls would like to see at this point. Big upper wick of profit taking on the hourly candlestick, testing 20-period 5-minute moving average support. Bears have been in control now for the last half hour. So we now have a weekly higher low. Because Bitcoin broke the daily lower highs, that then tells me, okay, I can confidently say that our weekly higher low the bulls must hold is 7,310. And now we're looking for that equilibrium pattern that I highlighted in the video yesterday for Bitcoin's weekly chart to begin forming. So I will be looking for a lower high to form somewhere, ideally for the bulls in the upper $9,000 range. Obviously, any potential news coming out of the G20 summit could completely change that setup. Facebook still all bears down at the low of the day. Exponential 5-minute resistance becoming support will be the first glimmer of hope for the bulls on Facebook, but the hourly RSI is 16. MFGP, all bulls. It's just running up 4-period exponential support. High of pre-market was 1640, so that is resistance. Have not consolidated to form a 5-minute high or low anytime recently. Checking in on what oil is doing. Oil has been consolidating since the open. Pretty much the high for oil since the open was at the open, so it's been lower highs and lower lows for the last hour. Let's see if Facebook can bounce with SPY. Obviously, Facebook's bounce attempt will get a lot more traction if SPY can give us a 5-minute higher low and higher high. So again, that SPY resistance, 272.78, was the top of the last bounce attempt. Bulls are attempting another bounce. UVXY on the 30-minute. Definitely bullish UVXY and holding up on the 5-minute even though SPY is attempting this bounce. And the 30-minute chart is giving us higher lows and higher highs the last 2 days. So UVXY bulls definitely have momentum in their favor, trying to shift things on the daily time frame. SPY bulls testing their lower high resistance on the 5-minute time frame. 20-period 5-minute moving average resistance is lining up right at that level. Amazon still recovering. It is now, with Netflix again staying the lead tech bulls, trying to make their way back towards green. The financial sector is now in the green, keeping the market bulls alive. I'm going to wrap up the morning webcam, and I will be back in 15 minutes to continue coverage in the chat room. Canadian MJ bulls still holding on, pulled back a little bit more than they would have liked to. but still a solid green day right now and plenty of time to recover a bit, especially if the S&P 500 were to be able to break this 5-minute downtrend. Next BA resistance on the daily time frame. Let's see, we broke the inside bar bullish at 330.83. Next resistance is 332.92. Have a good rest of your morning, and I'll be back shortly.